Behold, the road to WrestleMania!
Yes, I'm back at it with the graphics, and yes, before you ask, I made this all on my own. So let me walk through what you see on the screen here. We're going to be using this template to walk through every superstar's road to WrestleMania in real time. On the left here, I've laid out the road to WrestleMania. So we have 1 Raw and 2 SmackDowns before the Chamber, then the Chamber PLE on March 1st, 7 Raw and SmackDowns each, and then we have the actual Mania pay-per-view on the 19th and the 20th of April. Right here, you'll see the superstar whose road to WrestleMania we're focusing on. And then in this section, I have what I'm calling the storyline pool. It's basically all of the different superstars that I think could be involved in their road to WrestleMania. And what we're going to do in this video is, as we kind of walk through the hypotheticals, we're going to drag people into each of these different checkpoints on the road to WrestleMania and kind of lay out what this is going to look like for each superstar. Capiche? I actually don't know what that means. I hope it's not offensive. Okay, it's Italian. We're good. I guess I'm just bilingual like that. Psh. All right, so let's use Jey versus Gunther first as the example. Their storyline is pretty straightforward. If we look at Gunther's storyline pool, he has literally one friend, and it's a guy he hasn't talked to in months. Gunther is kind of a loner, which, honestly, man, it's kind of sad. I feel bad for the guy. I'll be your friend, Gunther, as long as you don't aggressively slap me in the chest like you do everybody else. That might be where I draw the line. So I think in the lead up to the Chamber and really all through WrestleMania, we're just going to get a lot of one-on-one with Gunther and Jey. And I think this feud really starts to heat up after the Elimination Chamber, where they start throwing in some other angles to it, because 7 weeks to keep this going is a long time. They have to do some things to keep it fresh. So I could see them doing something like bringing Ludwig Kaiser back to align with Gunther a little bit during this lead up to WrestleMania. I don't know if Kaiser gets a WrestleMania match, so why not use him here? And what I think would be really fun is if they reunite the Usos and use Kaiser coming back to Gunther to do a little bit of an Usos moment, have a tag team match between Gunther and Kaiser and the Usos. Now, on the flip side, if we go to Jey, his storyline pool is a little different. He's got a lot of other people that I think can get involved and back him. I think in the 7 weeks before Mania, the story might be like Gunther is bashing Jey, and Jey's confidence might be taking a decline. I think what they can do is do some callbacks with Jey's solo run in the last year. Let's start with Sami Zayn. He's been behind Jey since they were in the bloodline together. I think we see Cody come back and give Jey a vote of confidence. Obviously, they have tag team history together. Nothing would compare to if the one and only Tribal Chief comes back and gives a little mini acknowledgement to Jey, and that's kind of like the final push, the final vote of confidence before Gunther and Jey's WrestleMania one-on-one match. So a simple example, but hopefully you kind of see how we're going to walk through this together for some of the other guys. One thing I do want to say here is I'm laying out the road to WrestleMania, not the road through WrestleMania. So I won't predict the winner for every single match. I kind of want to save that for another video when the match card is a little bit clearer. I just want to kind of lay out how we're going to get there for some of these guys. That being said, for this match, I feel like I sounded like Goofy there. We might need to play that back. Why don't we go now from the most simple scenario to the most complicated one? There's a lot of different routes I feel like CM Punk could take and a lot of different matches he could have at WrestleMania. But I think for the pre-Chamber, we get the typical mishmash of the participants having promos and interacting with each other, maybe a couple singles matches, and we'll probably get that one thing that they do every year where they just all interrupt each other's promo when the music hits. One thing I will say is I don't think we get John Cena before the Chamber, so in his place, I'm just going to put Cody Rhodes. And then the question is, will Punk win the Elimination Chamber? I wouldn't mind a Cody versus Punk main event at WrestleMania. But I think for the reason that I mentioned earlier, Punk, like, look at this pool. He's got a lot of enemies in this match. Basically everyone except Damian Priest, and he's probably going to piss him off at some point before the Chamber. And it's tough to win in the Chamber with 4 guys gunning for you. So I don't think CM Punk wins the Chamber, but I still think he has a massive WrestleMania moment. I'm not going to talk about it now, but stick with me. We'll get to it later. I got some tricks up my sleeve. We'll get back to CM Punk at some point. Drew McIntyre. Oh, old buddy, old pal. As much as I love Drew, I'm not going to lie. I realize going through this card and the superstars, I just don't think it's Drew's year to main event WrestleMania. And that hurts me right here in my core. I feel it. He has been so good in this last year, maybe the best out of anybody. But main eventing WrestleMania feels like it's about big ticket matchups, and I just feel like there's so many other bigger ticket matchups on the table that I don't think Drew makes it in. I'm sorry, Drew. Please forgive me. It's not you, it's me, and a little bit of the creative direction you've been given. So then what is Drew gonna do for WrestleMania? And you're gonna hate me as soon as I switch to this next screen. Damian Priest. Obviously, Damian Priest ain't winning this shit. Why not Drew? I know there's some online beef with having Drew versus Damian at WrestleMania, but it's not a random feud. These guys have WrestleMania history. Priest cashed in on Drew and ruined his WrestleMania moment last year. And when Drew had his rematch with Damian Priest, he couldn't get the revenge he wanted because CM Punk spoiled that moment. So there's still some residual revenge for Drew, and maybe Priest costs him the chamber match, or Drew targets Priest or something like that and just set up the feud for WrestleMania. Drew is so good at these personal revenge feuds. I think he's the best in the business at this kind of thing. And these guys can just beat each other up. Like, turn this into a Falls Count Anywhere or street fight match or something. Damian Priest is so good in those street fight type matches. One of the best in the WWE, I think. So when people say they don't want this match, I don't know. I feel like they're not giving it the credit they deserve, and they're dismissing it too quickly. So lock it in. Drew versus Damian coming out of the chamber, our second official match. Do you hate me yet? You can be honest. Our next chamber participant is Logan Paul. Paul will probably have a pretty cool spot in this match, and I hope he does, because he's pretty good at that kind of thing. I hope he gets out early. We don't need him in the final 3 or 2 again like we had in the Royal Rumble. So I don't think he wins the chamber, but I do think he has a WrestleMania feud that we're going to come back to after we get through everybody in the chamber. So hang on for Logan Paul. To me, there's 3 realistic candidates to win the chamber: Punk, Seth Rollins, and John Cena. With that being said, given how the Rumble went with Seth and Roman, I don't think Seth wins this, because I think Roman Reigns returns and spoils the match for Seth Rollins, much like AJ Styles did for LA Knight in the chamber last year. He's going to find a way to get revenge on Seth and ruin his shot at the WWE title as well. And then that just starts this hate-fueled feud. There's so much history between these two that they can dig up in the 7-week period before Mania and just boil the water. Why did I say that? I don't think that's a phrase, is it? But you know what I mean. Build this thing all the way to WrestleMania over the 7 weeks. Do some deep cut callbacks with how much history these guys have. That would be so fun. And then that all culminates in the one-on-one match at WrestleMania. And I think they got to do something extra with this, like put it in Hell in a Cell and just let these guys mess each other up. And then if you've been doing the math, that leaves us with only one guy. And, oh, that's super weird. I can't see him. I hate that joke, but it just feels like I gotta make it. It's right there for the taking. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I think Cena is taking the chamber and challenging Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. Thank you. Yeah, I know it's genius, right? A very unique prediction that no one else has thought of. Listen, you only get one more chance of John Cena at WrestleMania. And Cody versus Cena at WrestleMania is a match I thought I would only be able to get in 2K. And now it's right in front of me. This feels like a match that in like 10 years, if Cody's career pans out the way it's projected so far, we're going to consider ourselves very lucky that we saw 2 all-time greats in the main event of WrestleMania. Like I said, I don't think he's going to show up before the chamber. He's apparently filming a movie in Hungary. Like, where does this guy get free time in his life? So for now, we're just going to drag the Hungary flag here. Now, my 2 concerns are, in this 7-week lead up to Mania, I don't know how many appearances John Cena is going to actually make. They've confirmed 3 in that Europe tour, and I imagine he's going to do more closer to WrestleMania. And then second, for the actual match at WrestleMania, the question is, does John Cena have enough gas in the tank to deliver on the expectations of a WrestleMania main event match against Cody Rhodes for the WWE title? Like, this is as big as it gets. And John is no stranger to delivering in big moments, but he's getting a little bit older. He hasn't had like a crazy good match in a few years. But don't you worry. Old Bosko has you covered. I've already thought through this a little bit, so we might be coming back to this one too. You can kind of see the spider web of connections I'm making in this road to WrestleMania. Either that or I have no idea what I'm doing, which I kind of feel that way right now. But it'll all come together, I promise. Just give me some time. But let's lock that one in anyways. John Cena versus Cody Rhodes, Night 2 main event of WrestleMania for the undisputed WWE title. And that covers everybody in the chamber. There's one guy that we need to go back to. Logan Paul. Listen, I can respect what Logan Paul can do in the ring. It's pretty impressive, but I don't want him winning the chamber. I don't want him going after any titles. So I think for Mania, just give him a match with somebody who's great in the ring and let them put on a banger. And maybe another one, a banger. And another one, a banger after banger after banger after banger. Obviously, I'm talking about the one and only Dragon Lee. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, it's not Dragon Lee. Could you imagine all that build-up that's Sheamus related and I just throw Dragon Lee in there? Or like Hornswoggle or something? No, obviously, I'm talking about Sheamus. Now, this feud admittedly would be out of nowhere. Like, Sheamus is nowhere in Logan Paul's storyline pool. I don't even think they've interacted recently, but they are both on Raw. And I think the good thing about Logan Paul is, like, he doesn't need an in-depth storyline. Everybody on the roster hates him. All the fans hate him. You just need to put him up against a guy that the fans would love to see him beat up against. And honestly, I think Sheamus might be the perfect guy for that. A lot of people are saying we're going to see Sheamus versus Bron Breakker. I've seen a lot of like career versus title match. But if you look at the last 4 months of Bron Breakker, it has been all Sheamus and a little bit of Ludwig Kaiser. I think they put on great matches, but I do kind of want to see Bron move on to someone else. And for this Sheamus-Logan Paul feud, like, you don't need anything too in-depth. Just have Sheamus do some simple Irish name calling, like, you poppycock. Someone just casually threw that word into a comment on a recent video, and I was like, that's a crazy pull. I have to use that in my daily life from now on. This match would be great, and I love the conflicting styles of Logan Paul probably doing some crazy flips and crazy moves against Sheamus, who just wants to beat him down, and I think the fans would love to see that too. So there you have it, Sheamus versus Logan Paul in a singles match. And that covers us for our chamber participants. Like I said, I like the idea of using the chamber to set up some of these feuds that lead into WrestleMania. So next, why don't we go into the guy that a lot of people are predicting Sheamus will actually fight at WrestleMania, Bron Breakker. I basically just pulled every single solo mid-card guy on Monday Night Raw, and like, if you look at these, any one of these would be a great match against Bron Breakker, and that's a testament to how good Bron is. But as of the February 17th Monday Night Raw, it is looking like it's going to be AJ Styles. I'll throw Dominic Mysterio in because I could see maybe Bron and Dominic having a match at some point before the chamber, and maybe AJ Styles interferes or something like that. And then in the 7 weeks leading up to Mania, I don't think we get anything too crazy between these two guys in terms of a story, but honestly, the great thing about AJ Styles is he doesn't need a crazy good story for people to get excited about whatever match he's going to have at WrestleMania or any other PLE. Like, if you remember that Cody versus AJ Styles Backlash match last year, that came randomly after WrestleMania, and that was one of the best matches of the year last year. AJ Styles is just that good, and a one-on-one match between Bron Breakker and AJ Styles is gonna slap. And I think it's the perfect match for Bron Breakker to have. It's such a high-profile opponent. A huge win for him. If he does win, it immediately elevates him up a little bit. And I do see, like, at some point next year, maybe early in 2026, Bron Breakker gets that push to the top of the card and gets a main event actual WWE or World Heavyweight title opportunity. So lock it in. I think that's our 6th match out of 11. Bron Breakker versus AJ Styles for the Intercontinental Championship. And next up, we got a guy who, boy, I'm pretty excited about this year. You put a camera in front of this guy, and he just makes gold content. Next up, we've got Bosko. I did it again. Did I get you this time? Listen, guys, I'm not Triple H. I don't actually know what's going to happen. I don't even think Triple H knows what's going to happen. Everybody on YouTube has predictions, and most of the time, we're all wrong. But hopefully when you watch my videos, they feel a little bit different. It's why I spend so much time making these graphics. Like, I want to make this interactive where you're just enjoying wrestling alongside me. Wrestling does not need to be that serious, no matter what people on the internet make you feel. This is a safe space, and it would mean a lot to me if you subscribe or just keep an eye out for any other videos of mine that pop up on your feed and check them out. Okay, enough of the sappy shit. Let's get back to fighting. Oh, and by the way, for my WrestleMania, I'm gonna go straight after the final boss, and I don't think this feud is gonna last through the Elimination Chamber because I think I'm gonna die before then. Fatu! I don't actually know what he says in his entrance. I don't even know if it's English, but it sure is fun to shout. Fatu's been on a tear, obviously. Major moves made on last Friday's SmackDown with Solo's return. I think up until the chamber, we get a lot of Solo pleading to Fatu for his loyalty. Fatu not having it and having this like kind of internal battle of, this is my ex-tribal chief, but he lost, and now I'm kind of doing well on my own. Do I really need this guy? And then I think Tama Tonga is just kind of in the background going, I try to do that literally every chance I get. It is so fun to do. Like, pause this video and just try it yourself, and you can't hold back. Like that final is so satisfying if you just hit it right. Try it. Once you do it once, you're not going to be able to stop. I don't think anything happens at the Chamber, and ultimately in the lead up to Mania, I think we see Solo do some stuff to upset Fatu. Maybe Solo honors what happened at the Netflix debut with Roman Reigns. He honors the tradition of the Ulafala and maybe has a show of respect for Roman Reigns. And that just pisses Fatu off. Like, this is the tribal chief that he honored so dearly, and now he just sees Solo losing his backbone and going back and acknowledging Roman Reigns. And I do think before WrestleMania, we also get Tonga Loa returning, which I'm sure everyone's thrilled about. But I think what we see between the Tongas is, as Fatu and Solo are kind of having their own power struggle, the Tongas don't really know who to side with. Like, they have their ex-tribal chief in Solo Sikoa, and then they have Fatu, who clearly you can see this guy is on a rocket to the moon, and this is a guy that they can follow for the future. So I think we see that power struggle between them kind of play out as well in terms of who to be loyal to. And I think it's just a fun angle to add to this, and it gives the Tongas something to do. And ultimately, this is going to culminate in a tribal combat match between Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa. And I think during that match, the Tongas are going to be present. They're still going to be having this loyalty struggle. I could see maybe in this match, whoever wins, the Tongas eventually align with, and we have another mini kind of bloodline faction just to keep that going. Maybe you even have the Tongas, like, during the match, they make their decision and they help Fatu or Solo win, and then you maybe get some more things coming out of WrestleMania between these guys. And if you don't like that plan, then all I gotta say is So lock in our 7th match, Fatu versus Solo in tribal combat. And you can't talk about the bloodline without talking about Jimmy Uso. I've honestly liked Jimmy a lot recently. Like, he's been good on the mic, he's been good in the ring, and he's doing a bunch of new stuff in the ring against a bunch of different superstars, and he's looked good. It feels like a slow burn with Jimmy Uso, and I think they continue to do that up through the Elimination Chamber. So I put Andrade and The Miz here because it's guys he hasn't wrestled with, I don't think, yet on SmackDown. He's had LA Knight and Drew McIntyre, Carmelo Hayes, even Kevin Owens, and those are all pretty quality matches, so why not keep throwing some guys at him? And why do I bring up Jimmy Uso? Well, let's first shift focus to Shinsuke Nakamura, our current U.S. champ. And I gotta say, as much as I love Shinsuke, this U.S. title reign has been one of the more boring ones I can remember. And I hate to say that, but he's literally only defended the title once, and he's been in 2 matches in almost 90 days. And they've made it clear that they're gonna keep building up this LA Knight Shinsuke Nakamura feud. And a lot of people are saying this is gonna last until WrestleMania, but this feud is pretty hot based on what happened on SmackDown last week. So I think they're actually gonna have this match at the Elimination Chamber in Toronto. And I think LA Knight's gonna come out as the new US champ. And then I think for LA Knight's road to WrestleMania, he starts getting guys coming out of the woodwork challenging for the US title and trying to get involved so they can have their own WrestleMania moment. Obviously, we see Shinsuke come back for his rematch. I think Jimmy gets his hand here as they start building him up. The Miz and LA Knight had a great promo battle on Friday Night SmackDown. I think he gets his hands involved here. And then just to elevate the WrestleMania match even more, why not throw in Carmelo Hayes and Andrade, 2 guys who can do some crazy stuff in the ring? So you can kind of see where I'm going with this. Ultimately, it culminates in a 6-man ladder match for the US title at WrestleMania. Like, look at these guys and tell me this match won't be a banger. Yeah, I'm waiting. See, I can't hear you. So lock it in. Match number 8, ladder match for the US title. Oh, Kevin Owens, you beautiful psychopath, you. Obviously, him and Sami still have some beef. Before they announced the chamber match on Raw between him and Sami, a lot of people were saying this feud is going to last all the way through WrestleMania. But I never really thought that. I knew they were going to do this at the chamber, obviously with 2 Canada boys in Toronto. The crowd's going to go nuts for this. But there's still so much time for this feud to evolve a little bit more. And I just can't help but feel like there's this ever-looming presence over this match. Like there's something washing it. Like maybe an apex predator? Yo, that was a sick line. You can't lie. That was Michael Cole-esque. Call me Boss Cole, Michael Boss Cole. I'd love to see Randy return at Elimination Chamber. I thought he was going to return at the Rumble and cost KO the match against Cody Rhodes, but I think they just wanted to give Kevin Owens and Cody that match to themselves, and thank God they did because it was incredible. But I really do think we see Randy come back here or maybe very soon after, cost KO the match, and I think he's seeking revenge. So dude is just wailing on Kevin Owens. Even though Sami currently hates Kevin Owens, they have a lot of history. So as Randy's just wailing on KO, I think Sami's fighting the battle of, should I help Kevin Owens or should I allow Randy to punt kick him in the head or something like that. Just like we saw Sami come back at the Rumble to defend KO. It's the cycle with Sami Zayn. The man is so loyal to his friends, even if they are not loyal to him. And I think that's basically what we get in the weeks leading up to WrestleMania. Randy Orton relentlessly seeking out Kevin Owens every single week. And I think Kevin Owens uses Sami a little bit to his advantage. He puts Sami in the middle and he apologizes to him like, oh, I didn't mean to give you a pile driver. You just slipped and fell while I was sitting down. And then Nick Aldis steps in. He has to bring order to this. He can't just have Randy roaming around the locker room and backstage looking for Kevin Owens every single week. So he gives them a sanctioned match at WrestleMania, but he lets the guardrails down a little bit. He says Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania, but it's gonna be a street fight. But I could see Nick Aldis being a little worried. Like, these guys could legitimately kill each other. And there's no one that Nick Aldis would trust more to moderate this match in real time than Sami Zayn. And so he announces Sami Zayn as the special guest referee for this match. I think Sami fits so perfectly into this, honestly. He plays that like morally correct but endlessly loyal character so well. It's a perfect angle to add to this KO versus Randy Orton feud to make it feel a little bit fresh and add another dimension to it, and also give Sami Zayn something to do at WrestleMania. Kind of crazy when you look at Sami Zayn's storyline pool, what he could actually be involved in. And this is why I always say he is the most undervalued MVP of the WWE. He's got Kevin Owens and Randy Orton. He's got various bloodline members he could feud with. He's got Drew McIntyre that he's got history with, and probably some other guys I can't even think of, but he's just such a good character actor. He elevates any story. But anyways, enough Sami Zayn glazing. Or should I say, glazing. Hearing the kids say the word glazing a lot. Everybody's glazing everybody, but nobody's glazing themselves, you know? We need more self-glazing in this world. What am I saying? I've gone so off the rails here. But anyways, match 9 out of 11, Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton in a street fight. Sami Zayn as the special guest ref. Next is Penta. I didn't know what to do with him, honestly. I feel like he's gonna have a big Mania moment, but I just couldn't figure out where that big moment could be on this card. So I don't think much happens with Penta before the Chamber. Like, maybe throw him up against Dragon Lee to expose people more to the lucha style of wrestling. I could see him going up against Finn Balor. Those guys would put on a great match. And I don't think we get anything for Penta at the Chamber, but at some point after the Chamber, I think Dominic Mysterio starts coming after Penta. Maybe they have a match and Dominic wins dirty, or he assaults Penta at some point during or after the match. And Dominic needs some discipline. If only he had a father figure. And you can see where I'm going with this. We're bringing back Rey and Dominic Mysterio for like the 5th year in a row for WrestleMania. Rey comes in and he disciplines his son. And I gotta say, a lot of people defend Rey as a dad, but when you look at his track record, he has a history of only coming around and giving his son attention around WrestleMania season. I don't know. It seems like selective love to me, but I'm no father. I could see Finn then getting involved here, especially if he has a match with Penta. Maybe coming in to defend Dominic. Obviously, they've been a little rocky in the last few weeks, but maybe you have a Dominic and Finn tag match against Rey and Penta. And I do think before WrestleMania, we get a Finn Balor face turn where he goes after Dominic and turns on the Judgment Day. I just feel like he'd be better as a truly solo star at this point. So then the way this WrestleMania match is shaping up is you have the face team of Rey, Penta, and Finn, and Dominic's all alone on the other side of this. And Dominic starts getting a little desperate. But if you remember, Chad Gable is training in the dark arts of lucha wrestling, whatever the hell that means. And Dominic was the one that actually gave Chad the contact for who he could reach out to learn these dark arts. And I think at WrestleMania, they unveil their third tag partner, this dark arts master, Aleister Black. Who let me cook? Somebody get Triple H on the phone. Tell him that I have cooked, that I am actively cooking. I have cooked him a meal just in time for WrestleMania. And the Judgment Day teased on Raw that they're getting a new member, and Aleister Black fits perfectly in with the Judgment Day, especially if Finn Balor's on his way out. And there's a whole nother angle to this match then, where you have good guy Finn Balor as the ex-leader of Judgment Day against the new leader of Judgment Day, Aleister Black, and you could set that match up for Backlash. Like, you could even have Finn Balor bring back Demon Finn Balor just to show everyone, like, yeah, I'm still that guy. And you have Demon Finn Balor versus Aleister Black at Backlash. Is Triple H still on the line? Tell him that I am continuing to cook. I'm just cooking. So there's match number 10, a hodgepodge 6-man tag match. Now for the tag team titles. Unfortunately, I do not have the Raw tag titles on the match card. It's clear to me the SmackDown tag division is the much more exciting division, and this Mania card is so stacked that I don't think we have room for 2 tag team title matches. Obviously, I think we'll see Motor City Machine Guns and Pretty Deadly continue to have a role in this. I do think shortly after that, we get the re-debut of the rebranded, newly determined Street Profits. They're not drinking from solo cups anymore. They're sipping on whiskey glasses. I don't know why I naturally went to a southern accent there. I think I was thinking of that Morgan Wallen song where he sings about whiskey glasses, which I realize is actually just every single Morgan Wallen song. And I think in these 7 weeks, we just get a buildup of the tag team division a little bit. All this is leading up into a 4-team tag match for the titles at WrestleMania, and I'd like this to be like a ladder match or a TLC match. It had a fun angle, and I think these teams would honestly play perfectly well in a match like that. But anyways, that is the 11th and final match on the card, a TLC 4-team tag match for the SmackDown tag team titles. And now for my last trick, my magnum opus. If you remember, John Cena wins the Chamber and challenges Cody Rhodes for the WWE Undisputed title. But there's a particular man that both John Cena and Cody Rhodes have some history with. A man that goes by the Final Boss. No. I'm kidding. I don't think The Rock is going to be at WrestleMania. And that's because, obviously, I'm going to challenge him on Friday Night SmackDown this Friday, and I'll just take him off your hands, guys. Like, I'll just, rough and tumble with good old Dwayne, and you don't have to worry about him. But we do have Cody versus Cena, and CM Punk is still waiting in the wing for his WrestleMania moment. Seth and Roman have their match set, but CM Punk also has a dog in this fight. And he also has this mysterious favor to cash in through Paul Heyman that involves Roman Reigns in some way. It seemed like a big deal at the time. The internet can't stop talking about it, but I feel like they haven't brought it up on TV in a while. Maybe I'm wrong. But anyways, we all know CM Punk has never main evented WrestleMania. And I don't think he's just going to be given that after losing the Chamber, but what if he could fight for it? What if CM Punk cashes in his favor with Paul Heyman to get into this Seth versus Roman match and make it a triple threat match? And I feel like if they do that, there's 2 paths you can take with it, and it kind of depends on what CM Punk's motivation is. One, if he just wants a WrestleMania main event, then I could see him getting in, this turns into a triple threat match, and it main events night 1 of WrestleMania with no other stipulations. This is the one career accolade CM Punk is missing, is main eventing WrestleMania. It's the one thing that everyone gives him shit for. The other angle you could take with this, and it's going to require a little bit more storytelling, is if a stipulation is added to this Seth versus Roman match that the winner advances to be included in the night 2 main event with Cody and Cena to make it a triple threat. And we need a way to justify why a third man would even be included in there, because it's not fair to Cody as champion and John Cena rightfully won the Chamber to be included. So I think if Roman Reigns returns at the Chamber, goes after Seth and spoils his chances at winning the Chamber, now all of a sudden you have that justification, right? For both Seth and Roman. Their argument is that because WWE officials weren't able to keep their matches under control, both Seth and Roman's chances at the WWE title match were squandered. At the Royal Rumble, WWE officials couldn't keep the action out of the ring under control, which led to Roman getting curb stomped. And then if Roman comes back at the Chamber, they couldn't keep things under control and couldn't prevent Roman from entering the Chamber and giving a spear to Seth or whatever he ends up doing. So the responsibility lies with WWE management. And how does WWE management fix this? Well, they add the stipulation to the Seth and Roman match that the winner advances on to be added to the night 2 main event with Cody and Cena. And then Punk obviously has his in through Heyman, so we could turn that into a triple threat match. Part of me does worry about potentially having 2 triple threat matches as WrestleMania main events, but I think if you go with the first option where Punk just wants a main event, you don't need a title match stipulation, and that's still a main event worthy match. And if we go with option 2 where there's a title match stipulation, I think you can make Gunther and Jey Uso the main event and maybe have the Seth, Punk, and Rollins match open WrestleMania. So there you have it. I told you I had some tricks up my sleeve. I can feel you fuming at me through the screen. I can feel the heat. But just remember, it's all in good fun. Most of us are wrong, and even when we're right, it really doesn't matter if we didn't have fun, huh? God, I felt like 2010's John Cena right there. The most fun thing for me about laying it out like this is every show and every week, as you get more clues that they start to unveil on Raw and SmackDown, you kind of start to see the puzzle pieces come together, and I like to come back to these roadmaps after every show. So I might come back to this in another video, maybe later on down the line. But I gotta say, this was incredibly hard. Compared to last year's WrestleMania, this just felt so much more jam-packed. Like, we have an extra tag team title because they're not unified this year. We have 2 women's mid-card titles, which I don't even know if those make the card. WrestleMania didn't get any longer, and it feels like we have more quality talent and we have bigger names this year. We have CM Punk and John Cena. Let me know in the comments what you think about my WrestleMania roadmap. What do you love? What do you hate? And before you give me flack in the comments about Drew McIntyre not getting a title match, like, try to book this yourself and you'll realize you just have to make tough decisions. But I gotta admit, there's probably some things I'm not thinking about. So I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are in the comments. Oh, and I'll be uploading the women's version of this at some point, probably later this week. So please subscribe to make sure that shows up on your homepage. And if you do see it, give it a click, check it out. If you enjoyed this video, I am sure you're gonna enjoy that one as well.